Hey guys, it's Ian here, also known as Bonbonify TCG, and welcome back. I'm here to actually showcase you a deck profile today, and it's gonna be something a little bit different. You'll be basically prepping for the Battle Hardened Portland, and it's gonna be commoner. I was actually playing around with the new deck, or at least brewing something really cool, really spicy, and I know they've also had a new ban list. And the good thing is that we're not playing any Rune Blades. We're not playing any Chain. And I haven't really played a lot in that format. I believe a lot of people were saying that Chain and even Icelander is really good in that format. But what I'm about to show you right here is something really hot, really spicy, at least in my opinion. And that is by this hero right here. Now, I know Fi might have a bad matchup against Icelander just because of the fact that she creates Frostbite, but I feel like Fi could really put damage before she could do anything to you. That is because most Draconic cards that you would be playing are actually common. They're all really good. For example, right here, Blaze Headlong is a common. Flame Call Awakening, Lava Burst, one of your main closing power, is also a common. And Ronin Renegade's a common. Lava Vein Loyalty. Before I go show you my entire deck, I'm just saying that I feel like I'm not sure if a lot of people are looking a lot into 5 being a contender in the commoner format, but I feel like he could do a lot of work. And one of the reasons why I was playing around with him is because of the equipment suite that he has. They're all pretty good. At least I call them like the tiger equipment, which is crazy because they're not really draconic equipment. Besides like maybe the sash. But let's go over it a bit for like why I kind of put them all together in Fi and how it benefits his playstyle. So for the headpiece right here, I put Mask of the Three Tails. It's a really good ninja headpiece, just for the fact that it allows you to draw a card. And with once you see Fi's entire deck list, imagine Mask of the Three Tails just getting you another 0 for 4. It's a really great extender. It's like, it reminds me of Mask of the Pouncing Lynx for Commoner. That's how good this headpiece is. The thing that's also crazy about this headpiece is the fact that when you read the ability that you could only activate this if you've hit 3 or more times this combat chain, you don't have to hit consecutively. As long as there's at least 3 attacks that has hit this combat chain, you'll be able to get a card, which is normally a 0 for 4. So that's why I'm running Mask of the Pouncing. Oh, sorry, Mask of the Three Tails. And then for the legs, I'm running Pouncing Paws. What if I tell you Pouncing Paws is a 0 for 4 value? The thing is that you guys might think it's crazy, but this is actually a really good leg piece, and I'll explain why. Pouncing Paws has to be in combination with the arm piece as well, which is Tearing Shuko. It's a rare ninja equipment that basically says, destroy this, the next Scratching Tiger you play this turn gets +2. This also has Battle Worn, and they're both instant speed. In combination of Pouncing Paws and Tearing Shuko, they both block for 1 each, so that's equaling 2. And destroying Tearing Shuko, giving the tiger a +2. This whole entire package right here is basically a 4-point value, especially on a on-demand play on the board. It's a really great combo for Fi. And the one reason why I was playing this is because sometimes you just need that extra hit in. Especially, let's say your opponent doesn't expect that, oh, you already wasted like all your attacks, you need like one more hit to trigger Mask of the Three Tails. Pouncing Paws and Tearing Shuko can get that extra push that you would need to like close games or at least trigger the headpiece. And on the chest piece side, I went for Sash of Sandakai instead of, say, the other generic chest piece that gives you one resource. And the reason for that is that it's an instant speed gain one resource. And the only thing to activate this ability is to just play a red card this turn. Knowing Fi, most of his cards in his deck are red. So you're more likely to trigger Sasha Senkai whenever you want on your turn. Again, the only reason why I play Sasha Sandakai in the chess piece instead of, like, say, Blossom of Springs is because of the instant speed effect. I feel like this ability right here allows you to play around Icelander. Just for the fact that if you play a red card and say Icelander tries to attack you with a blue or trigger a blue card from the arsenal to give you a frostbite, before that frostbite triggers, you could activate Sasha Sandakai to give you that one floating resource. That way, you could pay for that frostbite and then keep continuing your turn. That's only one of the reasons why I didn't play Blossom of Springs, is because it consumes your action. While this is very flexible, especially if it does the same thing. But yeah, I feel like this entire equipment suite is very synergistic with what Fi is trying to do, which is basically push damage, all gas, no break, just go, 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 you know? Burn them to the ground kind of thing. And with this kind of playstyle, I just went for like a weapon that has a higher damage output, and that is Searing Emberblade. I was playing around with Kodachis before just to trigger the Mask of the Three Tails, but then I came to find out it's not really that important. Like if you're playing with the Kodachis, it's like 2 resource for 2, while Searing Emberblade is a 2 resource for 3. With Go again, if you play you control 2 or more Draconic Chain Links. Just note that if you play your first card as a Draconic card, and then you attack with Searing Emberblade on the second Chain Link, it will count itself as the second Draconic Chain, meaning that it will have Go again. Plus, it has the Draconic tag, which helps with Fi gaining basically the Phoenix Flame back from the graveyard to ping your opponent for once. If you think about it, Searing Emberblade's almost like a 2 for 4. And since we don't really need to attack 3 or more consecutively just to trigger Mask of the Three Tails, I felt like Kodachi was kind of meh. So that's why I didn't put Kodachi in the weapon slot. Now let's go over the deck list. I think you already seen most of it, but I'll go over on the decisions on why I chose these cards. First, of course, Bittering Thorns. It's a 1 for 4 that has Go again, and it's a red. And it gives you next attack +1. What more do you want for a really good common card in this meta? This is like one of the best common card there is, and it's a ninja. Hence why I think Fi uses this very well, you know? I mean, if you look at it, it's a 1 for 5 Go again. Next, of course, is this, again, one of the best one of the best commoner cards I think is Blaze Headlong. It's a 0 for 4 Go again. Especially when you're playing with Fi, this is always going to be on Go again. Next, one of the glue in this deck is Brandwood Sinnerclaw. It's a 0 for 3, like a head jab, but the fact that it allows your next attack in this combat chain to be Draconic kind of opens a lot of avenues in playstyle. But what I mean by that is the fact that you could turn your Crouching Tiger that you create from Pouncing Paws as a Draconic. It's just knowing that fact that you could do that and discounting Fi's ability to get Phoenix Flame from the graveyard is why I'm running the yellow one as well. You know, it's also 0 for 2 and it allows me to have a little bit more resource curve, but this is more so just for that combo. And there's also some certain cards here that are also not draconic, such as Withering Thorns and, let's say, Ravenous Rabble. To get the draconic talent just makes everything else synergistic, you know? And that's why I say Branded with Cinderclaw is like the glue of this whole entire deck, just for that reason. Next, I'm running Cinderskin Devotion. Again, it's a 1 for 4, usually going to have the go again, but it's one of the few cards in the deck that also blocks for 3. So I mean, if you need to block with a Cinderskin Devotion that's a red for 3, just do it. It's one of those very flexible cards, or one of the very defensible cards that Vike possesses in his deck. Just to let you know, again, since he's a ninja and since it's Phi, most of the time you're gonna like rarely block, but when you do, you're gonna need some cards to do so, and Cinderskin Devotion is one of them. Another one again is Dust Runner Outlaw. The only reason why I'm running this instead of for another 0 for 4 is just the fact that it has the draconic attribute in the name. So sometimes it's basically a leg tap that's a draconic. So it's a 1 for 4. Next, one of your main engine I would say is Flame Call Awakening. And the reason for that is that it tutors out a Phoenix Flame from your deck to your hand if you played a red card this turn. That basically allows you to use that Phoenix Flame that you got as a resource to, say, pitch for either Searing Emberblade, or even just using Phi's ability, or even just using that extra Phoenix Flame as a way to push damage or push that on hit for Mask of the Three Tails. This is your Belittle package right here. And one of your main opposing power in this deck is Lava Burst. Just for the fact that it's a 0 for 5 if it's a Chainlink 4 or higher, which most likely you're going to have a Chainlink 4 or higher. And again, when it's asking for a Chainlink 4, putting attacking with Lava Burst as the Chainlink 4 itself does count for the Rupture, so keep in mind on that. And again, it's just a really good card. It's a 0 for 5, it blocks for 3, it's draconic. It does a lot of things for this deck. Next, the other card you'll be playing is Lava Vein Loyalty, both in reds and blues. This is one of your main blue block 3 cards in the deck, and it's also still a pretty good card. It's a 0 for 3 go again that blocks for 3. It's one of your staple cards in the deck. And then again, of course, Phoenix Flame. What more can you say about this? It's basically your main ping, your main extender for damage, I could say. No one would really want to block Phoenix Flame for 1. So sometimes one really neat thing is that you could just tickle your opponent here and there, like squeak in a damage or so just to trigger Mask of the Three Tails. And one of those cards would be Phoenix Flame attacking for 1 your opponent. If you think about it, if you're able to trigger Phoenix Flame on a Mask of Three Tails, Phoenix Flame is basically a draw card. Like, attack your opponent for 1, draw 1 card. It's really good. Next, one of the best reds in the deck is Ravenous Rabble. As you can see, there's some blues and yellows in this deck, but the highest chance of this becoming a 2 or a 3 is really low. Most likely, it's going to be a 0 for 4 go again. And again, it's just one of the best commoner aggressive cards there is. Next is a Rising Resentment. It's a 0 for 3. And again, it's like another leg tap, but this time it says that if it hits, you may banish a card from your hand with cost less than the number of Draconic Chainlinks you control, and just discount it by 1. Which actually comes in really handy, especially if you want to discount, say, Dust Runner Outlaw, the Flame Call Awakening, heck, even Bittering Thorns, because those are, like, I think you're only 1-drops. Oh, there's one more right here. But you do have some 1-drops in the deck that might need that resource discount. And your good, your main, again, your main leg tap sorry, your main head jab is basically Ronin Renegades. 5 technically has a lot of head jabs, but some of these head jabs actually do something, especially this. Hence why you run it, you know? Since this deck is much more of an aggressive deck, you're rarely gonna block, so most likely you're gonna have a lower health pool than your opponent. And Scar for Scar is just a really good 0 for 4 go again generic common card, you know? Now, I'm playing Sink Below in the main deck. There's another card in contention with Sink Below to be in this deck. Now you're wondering how you could be playing Sink Below when it's saying here it's a rare. The thing is that Sink Below was printed as a common before being upgraded into a rare. So according to the rules, if a card first started out as a common and then later down the line it was upgraded into a rare rarity, you could still play it since it had a common print, you know? One way to know about that is that if you could view the card details, I think, yeah, it says it right here. Rarities is common, promo, rare. So if as long as it has a rarity that's a common, you could play it in the deck or in the commoner format. Again, the reason why I'm playing Sink Below is there are some times that you wanna block, and this kind of like hedges your life a bit when you need to block a really strong on hit. And the other card in contention I'll show you will be in my side deck. But again, Sink Below is just there to like hedge some of the damage. Next, I have another leg tap, Soaring Strike. This one's also pretty good too, because if it hits, you may banish an attack action card from your hand, but it costs less than the number of Draconic Chain Links you control. And if you do, it gains Go again and may play it this turn. This effect sometimes doesn't really matter because most of your cards will have Go again, but there are times where you could even double Lava Burst your opponent just for the fact that this probably will banish the Lava Burst in your hand and you already have one in your arsenal, basically showing like 10 damage within that turn, you know? And again, there are times where your life might be higher than your opponent. You could just banish Scar for Scar and give it a go again. It's flexible, but again, I'm just going all gas. So 1 for 4 go again, you know? One of the flexible cards here, but I think it's still one of the cards I would suggest you still be running is Soul Beat Strike, both in red and blue. Because it's one of the few ninja cards that are blue block 3 with an, I guess like you could say, not with a conditional go again. And you could probably change the blue Soul Beat Strike to, I believe, what was the card here? 1 second. It was Pouncing Key or something? Yeah, or Pouncing Chi. You could even switch the blue Soul Beat Strike into Pouncing Chi, just because it's just a blue block 3 0 cost, and maybe it could line up with a Crouching Tiger that you could create from the boots, giving this basically a 0 for 2 go again, almost the same value as this, but actually with like an easier trigger or easier effect. So you could argue that Pouncing Key would be better in the blue slot than Soul Beat Strike. Heck, I might actually change this blue actually, but I'll go over why I'm running that in a minute. And again, I guess I didn't go over why I'm running the blue Cinderskin Devotion in the blue slot. To be fair, again, this could also be Pouncing Chi, but the only reason why I'm running this in the blue slot is because of the Draconic tag. There are times maybe that you want to just, like, depending on your hand draw, of course, but sometimes it's like, oh, I need one more Draconic to trigger Phi to get that Phoenix Flame, you know? And sometimes you just use Cinderskin Devotion, you know? But you could, again, argue you could change Cinderskin Devotion to Pouncing Chi, and I think it will be fine. It'll be doing the same thing. So yeah, I guess that's the main board. Now let's go over the sideboard, alright? This one is still somewhat flexible of a sideboard, but currently I'm really liking Arcane Polarity because it's a red card. It gains health and it's a generic instant for a common. This actually is really good. The reason why I think it's really good is just for the fact that if you're facing against somebody that deals arcane damage, especially say wizards or rune blades, the ability to give yourself extra 4 health is actually really strong. Hence why I'm playing Arcane Polarity. And there are times when I was like siding out Sync Billows or Arcane Polarity, especially if you're going, say, second, yeah, or first, just because it's an easy way to like gain 1 extra health, and that usually is what kind of just needs, just the 1 extra health. And the fact that it's red could trigger Sasha Senekai and an instant speed as well. That's why if you're facing against like an Icelander or any wizards or any rune blades, and you need that extra resource or extra padding for health because of the arcane damage that you can't prevent, especially if you don't have any blues in hand, Arcane Polarity is pretty good. Another thing that I was thinking of putting into the main deck is Breaking Point, because this is literally Command and Conquer for Draconic decks. You know, it's sure you need to have a Rupture, but and it's a 1 cost for 5. But just for the fact that Sasha Sandakai is like an instant speed, gain a resource whenever you need to, especially let's say you have cards that's already been like you've played enough cards and this would be like the 4th attack. Just for the fact that you have a 1 for 5 CNC for a ninja deck, or not just a ninja deck, sorry, just for a draconic tag that blocks for 3. I put this in the sideboard for that reason. Normally, if I'm putting that in, I'll probably cut one of the Dust Runner Outlaw or one of the Dust Runner Outlaw actually, because it's it's 1 for 5 and it blocks for 3 as well. Hence why. But I just sided out because it's, again, I'm saying this is very flexible. You could even switch it out and just say this go away and put this instead. For my arcane package, I guess, like the way to protect from arcane would be, of course, you're running Tide Flippers, just pretty good, Arcane Barrier 1, and Heat Wave. Now, you can run the Null Rune Gloves instead of Heat Wave, because it's much more consistent in blocking arcane damage. The only reason why I went for Heat Wave is because I noticed that Commoner is pretty fast. There are times where, let's say you might have a blue, pay those on like Tide Flippers and Heat Wave, and then just to close up, because again, well, Heat Wave will destroy itself at the beginning of the end phase. So even before you end your turn or you're still in your combat phase, you could literally instant speed destroy this, and your Phoenix Flames gains +1 until the end of the turn. So you could protect yourself from arcane damage with Heat Wave and Tide Flippers, and then pop Heat Wave anyway just to close out the game here and there. And again, since you rarely have any blues, AB1 is what you're usually going to have, and this is just like another padding. Now, I opted to put in Zephyr Needle instead of Kodachi, because like I said, you don't need to hit 3 consecutive attacks just to trigger Mask of the 3 Tails. So I opted for Zephyr Needle just to pressure cards from your opponent's hand, especially if they're aggro. I kind of want to just like get a lot more damage value from this. And since I know for a fact that this game goes by really fast on Commoner, the Kodachi lock sometimes doesn't really do anything. And I didn't want to run the blue brand with Cinderclaw just for that combination. You know? I opted for Zephyr Needle. Now what you could also do is that if you feel like this deck would lose to Icelander or any ice in general in common, you could even take the Zephyr Needles out, put the Pouncing Chi, Or if you feel like loses to Icelander in general, you could even take a Zephyr Needle and maybe put, it was Oasis. Yeah, you could even just put Oasis Respite in that in here instead of Zephyr Needle. So like, I could even put it in the maybe. I think also Pouncing just so it's like a notes. You know? Do that right now. So yeah, these are like the maybes, right? Oh yeah, and Null Rune gloves. You like it? Yeah, I know we're making this deck on the fly right now, but this is just for those of you guys that want to actually test it out. Yeah, so I'm putting on the maybe right here, and yeah, that's the list for Fi and Commoner. Um, when I was testing it with some of my friends, this deck was nutty. It was able to at least when I was playing it, it felt like I was consistently presenting like 23 or so damage every time. It's like turn 3 or 4. Usually turn 3 you would be kind of presenting like a 20 something damage. If there's like control or ice, maybe turn 4 or 5. Sometimes you could even just outright kill them in turn 2. But yeah, currently I've been liking Fi and Commoner, and if I was gonna play it again, even if I know I might lose or whatnot, I feel like this is like you could probably blow out some people without them noticing it, you know? So guys, if you like what you see here, and if you like the deck tech for Fi, give it a like, you know, and subscribe to my channel to see more deck lists like this. Anyways guys, it's Ian here, also known as Bonbonify TCG, and yeah, talk to you guys in a bit. Peace.